Welcome to Standard Deviation.
Hey there.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, you know, it's going.
Cool. I'm looking out the window right now, and it looks much like the video game I've been playing because it's winter in Stardew Valley, and it kind of looks like winter outside with the bare trees and that lone bird sitting on a branch, forlorn.
If you decided to become a poet.
Does it sound poetic?
No.
I didn't think so.
You've been playing Stardew Valley, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I played it a little bit. I like fishing, and I hate everything else.
Yeah, that's great because I like everything else and I hate fishing. So
Yeah.
you just fish for me.
Yeah. You know, I don't actually hate everything else. It's just that it's very tedious walking around that place, you know? It's for those who don't know, it's this like little village simulator, and you just kind of farm and fish and make bonds with people, form relationships, and visit wizards who drug you. But for the most part, you just like plant crops and walk.
Go mining.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
it's very
is
low
just-
stakes. I don't think you actually win the game. There's just a lot of things you can unlock and collect, and you can get married.
It's cool for that, you know. It's like relaxing, kind of.
I like it a lot.
Yeah. The low stakes thing is very chill.
But anyways, seasons go by, and I'm on my first year, and winter just started. And so it'd be interesting to see how that goes because I can't grow any crops. So that's not good. I did save a lot, though.
Can you starve to death?
You don't have to eat unless you're exerting energy, and you don't really exert energy unless you're mining.
So you can hibernate like a bear,
Yeah, kind of.
just sleep through the winter.
Yeah, or you could not sleep and walk around and do things, just don't exert a lot of energy.
What if you do though? Do you die?
So if you exert too much energy, or if you stay up past 2 a.m., wherever you're at, you will fall asleep right there, and the next day someone will be like, oh my God, I found you unconscious on the ground, and someone pickpocketed like 1,000 gold and stole your sword.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that's no big deal if people just find you and you wake up like, fine, I might as well have just slept in my bed. But
They give you one like kind of warning. It seems like the first time you do it, but the next time you get pickpocketed.
wow.
Yeah, so you got to be careful. That's why I was telling you when you were fishing for me. I was like, be mindful of the time. And you're like, why? It's like, because if you don't go to bed, like you'll just pass out wherever you are and be vulnerable.
But you didn't tell me like what time that happened. So I'm like, okay, well, it's 8 o'clock. So what? You know?
Yeah, I mean,
Just be
I
mindful.
told you after I realized you didn't know what time you had to go to bed.
You know what'd be cool is if you could go to ninja school and learn how to wake up if somebody tries to pickpocket you, and then you can murder them, dump their body in the river.
Is that what ninjas do? They can wake up like that?
Well, I mean, ninjas have pretty good situational awareness, I think.
Even when they're
very
asleep?
attuned senses. I would fucking hope so. What kind of ninja can get pickpocketed by a random villager in Stardew Valley?
A ninja wouldn't just pass out on the street at 2 a.m.
It's a fair point. I was reading about ninjas. They're interesting. There's so much mythology though. It's really hard to tell what's true. One of the things I heard is that they would eat very plain food, like they would only eat the same meal every day, so that they could tell immediately if they were poisoned, because they know exactly how it feels to eat everything they eat, and if something felt slightly off, they would like throw it out and find their assassin.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I also read about how there were during some period in Japan there were villages of ninjas and like communities of ninjas who were basically experimenting with new forms of government. Like there were anarchist ninja communes and others as well. And
Sounds like you know a lot about this.
I don't. I actually tried to find a good book on ninja history, and it was pretty hard. There's a lot of books about like how to be a ninja and disappear and sneak up on your enemies and do magic and mind control, and like that it's not going to work so much.
Why?
Mind control and magic?
Well, yeah, that I agree with, but what about the other stuff?
Oh yeah, some of it'll work, sure. There
What are you saying?
There's a lot of some of it's bullshit is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay,
I just want to
sure.
read about the history. Like I want to know what were those ninjas up to when they were forming new government systems? You know, I want to know the details of that shit. That's
Gotcha.
interesting. That's neat history. It would make a great story too, you know, like fiction. I'm sure somebody's done that, but
Fictional ninja movies? Yeah, I think there's a
movies.
few out there.
yeah, but I mean about like these weird little communes and alternative experimental governments they were forming, you know? That'd be a cool background for some storytelling. There were also some myths that they were all 7 feet tall. There were a lot of magic myths, you know. Like, I think they did that on purpose to trick their enemies. There was, they claimed to, or others claimed that they could control people with like hand signals that look kind of like gang signs, and they could like hypnotize you with their fingers. And that's weird, man.
Yeah, sounds like bullshit.
Yeah, probably was. Although, like, if fucking Ninja walked up to me and started throwing gang signs, I would be stunned. I wouldn't react immediately.
Wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah, and then he would just fucking toss a shuriken at me.
God, I remember listening to this really interesting interview with Darren Brown, and I'm not going to explain it that well because I can't remember exactly what he said, but he described, I think it was on Joe Rogan, he described a story where he was like, I want to say in Vegas or something, and some guy started walking towards him, and he was big and drunk and looked angry and had like a chip on his shoulder, and it was just one of those feelings of like immediate hostility, like just he thought that like this was going to be something like a dangerous situation, and then he just said something to him that just like really kind of threw the guy off, and it was almost like it wasn't like any kind of special like abracadabra words or anything, but
that would work. Abracadabra. It'd probably stop.
But like it was enough that it threw the guy off. I think maybe he just like threw a question at him, you know, and it was just kind of this like weird little confusion. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting, and like how quickly he like thought of something like that to say.
Yeah, you know, just throwing random confusing verbalizations at aggressive people can at least buy you a couple seconds off. It's like tossing an object at them, you know, like they're gonna be like, whoa, did not see this coming.
Yeah.
Or asking some fucking crazy question.
Yeah, I heard a psychological trick that if you're talking with someone, or if they're talking to you, if you hand them something, no matter what it is, they'll just take it as they're talking. Yeah.
But if somebody tried to hand me like a spider, I'd be like, fuck you, get out of here.
Okay, maybe not anything. It's like a handful of barf.
You don't have to trick me. Like, if you just hand me something, I'll take it. You know.
But, you know, you can kind of even like do a little simulation in your head and imagine like if I walked up to you and you're just sitting on the couch and I hand you like a piece of bread, you'd probably like look at it and look at me confused and be like, why are you handing me this?
Yeah.
But if we're talking and then as I'm talking, I just hand it to you, it's like...
Yeah, that's interesting. You know, that reminds me a little of Taken, the Liam Neeson movie, which was pretty good actually. But there was this part where there's this guy who has like a hostage and he has like a knife to her throat or a gun or something, and Liam Neeson's doing like the standoff. And this is a spoiler, by the way. If anybody hasn't seen it, it's like 10 years old, so fuck off. But so they're having this like Mexican standoff, right, with this hostage in the middle, and Liam Neeson doesn't say anything, but then the bad guy, the second he speaks, he shoots him. And they never explain it or talk about it, but it seems to me that's probably a real technique, because as soon as somebody starts talking, they're just slightly distracted, and if they're holding a gun on you or a hostage, if you're going to shoot them, that's the moment to shoot them, because it's like the brain can only process so much at once, so the reflexes are probably slowed down.
Ooh, that reminds me of a scam that was explained to me once. Oh, sorry. And it made a lot of sense. Okay, so here it is. You need two people. And a lot of times this happens on the beach. I can't remember what country. Someone told me this is a fairly common scam. But let's say you're on the beach and, you know, you have like a towel and you have a bag and you have all your stuff, you know, and you're hanging out and you're whatever, reading a book or, you know, working on your tan. And one guy will be behind you and he'll be like, kind of like have his own towel or whatever and be like a reasonable amount of ways behind you. And as long as you're like reading a book or somewhat distracted by something, this person behind you will slowly kind of creep up and get closer and closer to you. And then what happens is a second person comes, walks by you, says like, hey, how's it going? Or asks you a question. And that split second that, you know, you as the vulnerable person like looks up and is like paying attention to this other person, the other person pickpockets you.
Interesting.
Yeah. And it's that same sort of thing with this like timing where like, you know, it's a, you know, a second maybe at most, and, you know, until, because like most people, if some stranger's walking by to talk to you, like it's, you know, there's very rare circumstances where that's not going to be a very short interaction, you know?
Yeah. You know, that's interesting because that's what I've heard about pickpocketing is that it's all about controlling, what is the phrase? It's all about controlling your focus, basically. Like what are you thinking about in that second? And that's why somebody, even without an accomplice, can apparently good pickpockets can just walk right up to you and steal your watch while they're talking to you. I would love to learn more about that because it just seems impossible. It sounds like these ninja stories to me. Like the idea that a fucking stranger could just walk up and take my watch without me noticing.
Yeah, the stuff like that is kind of mind-boggling, like something that's on your wrist.
Yeah, I mean, some of it is like, so there's a few techniques. There's one, I think it's called glad handing, where you shake somebody's hand and take their watch in the process. And there's some techniques I've heard. Again, I don't know how true they are, but one is like shaking somebody's hand with both of your hands. Like you're shaking hands with one hand, and then with the other hand, you grab their wrist and like undo the clasp of their watch. Obviously, this works better with certain types of clasps, like the kind that has the hole and all that would be much harder.
Right. The kind that just bounces open when you push it.
Yeah. And then after you have it, you squeeze their wrist kind of hard, but not too hard, because that leaves a phantom impression behind, so it feels like they're wearing their watch, and it's in your pocket, and by then you got to be gone like really fast.
Interesting.
I'll bet pickpockets are like fast sprinters.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how many fucking times you have to get caught to get good at being a pickpocket? That's the thing, is like you gotta, like, I mean, I guess you could practice with your fellow pickpocket friends, but just going out in public and stealing shit from people, God, you must have like a huge rap sheet after a while.
Do you want to hear about other scams I know about?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so there's this one scam I read about when I first went to Europe, and I think it was when I was going to Spain, like Barcelona or something. Barcelona. And
nobody says that.
I never saw this, but I thought it was the most hilarious scam. So what happens is it's usually at a market, which is usually a place where lots of pickpockets are. So you're at a market, and you see this like guy with a stand, like selling stuff, accusing a woman of stealing. And she's like, no, I didn't steal anything. He's like, yes, you did. And then already he's kind of getting your attention because they're talking kind of loud and they're shouting at each other. And then the woman, to prove that she hasn't stolen anything, takes off all of her clothes.
Yeah.
And then all the men get pickpocketed.
Interesting.
One I actually saw, this isn't as fun, but I actually saw it. And I probably should have gotten pickpocketed. Basically, there was like a group of kids, like little kids, like 7, 8-ish. And they're just kind of like hanging out. And then all of a sudden there's this guy that's grown up. It sounds so stupid when I describe it, but in the moment we're just like, whoa, what's going on? This adult has a whistle, and he yells something at him and blows the whistle and like points at him and screams at him. And then all the kids like go like, ah, and run away. And in the moment you're thinking these little kids are pickpocketers and this guy is like calling them out on it, but really they're all pickpocketers and they're just getting your attention in that moment so that someone can come and pickpocket you.
God, that's crazy.
Yeah, so I saw that one time where I'm just like, whoa, these little bastard kids. And then I was like, oh, that guy's in on it.
Yeah, you know, the thing is, like, no matter how good you are at spotting bullshit tricks like that, they're just gonna, like, they come up with so many, you can't spot them all, you know? And they can get as elaborate as they want with as many people as they want or as few people. That's why I think really the only like the safest way to avoid a pickpocket is just don't keep valuables anywhere that can be reached easily. You know, like put your cash in like a sock wallet under your sole of your shoe or something. You know,
right?
Or have decoys. That's pretty effective. Like a decoy wallet, like your real wallet but with nothing in it. Yeah. That kind of thing, or like $1. It's a good way to handle robbery as well. Keep your cash in 2 or 3 places. Because if you're like, I don't have anything, you know. You might get shot, or they might just not believe you. But you can just offer up, yeah, I have $20.
Yeah, most countries like that where there's lots of scams, they recommend you just not have a lot of money on you.
Yeah, and don't fight. That's never a good idea.
Oh yeah,
because you never know. You never know what can happen.
Right. Even if you're a good fighter, they might have a gun or a weapon,
or they might have like buddies nearby.
Isn't that a big irony of life? People that are really into like martial arts and like study their whole life to be like a black belt jiu-jitsu fighter, and then maybe just get shot.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely no guarantees for sure. There's even good like unarmed combat against guns and knives and stuff you could learn, but you know, if they're just like too far away to reach in the moment and they're a good shot, then that's that. Do
you remember that scene in Indiana Jones?
Yeah. Sort of thing.
Do you know the story behind that?
No.
So for people who haven't watched Indiana Jones, spoiler, it's about 30 years old.
So fuck off. That's going to be my new spoiler alert. Fuck off.
Yeah, there's like this standoff between Indiana Jones and
a sword guy.
A sword guy, yeah. And they're kind of far apart, and this like sword guy starts like busting these moves, like showing how skilled he is, and like really good at martial arts and really good with the sword, and like you're just like, oh shit, what's gonna happen? And then Indiana Jones just pulls out a gun and shoots him, and it's kind of funny. Apparently, Indiana Jones was feeling like shit that day, and when the scene
Harrison Ford, you mean? Or?
Yeah, sorry, Harrison Ford was feeling like shit that day, like really. And then like when he was supposed to do the scene, he was just like, ugh, can't I just shoot him? And they thought it was funny and like put it in.
Wow.
Yeah.
It works really well too. I remember feeling bad for the sword guy when I was a kid. I was like, oh man, he was so good. He studied hard. Like he's practiced a lot and
So
he just
unfair.
got shot. Like damn, he didn't even get to kill the guy.
Yeah.
That's fucked up. But you know, yeah, that makes sense. And you know, there's a lot of people also who just also carry guns and shit to avoid that whole like, oh yeah, I'm a black belt, but also this guy's got a gun because I got a gun too. What are you gonna do about that?
Yeah.
I saw this crazy backpack recently. It was like a tactical backpack where I can't remember how it worked, but it was some kind of crazy design where you just like you yank on one of the straps and it like raises up and then you pull it over your head and it's like a bulletproof pistol case with like backup ammo and shit, and then you can just like pull your gun in like 5 seconds, which is cool, but just calm down, people. You know, like damn. I don't know. I mean, if people are super well trained, then you know, do your thing. But it is really hard to be super well trained at gunfighting. You know, there's a lot of bystanders to worry about. No, you don't know.
Well, I've never shot a gun before.
Well, yeah, but I mean, even like shooting a gun is one thing, but like being good at, well, first of all, being good at shooting it, but then also being good at muzzle control and not shooting the wrong people and keeping an eye out for ricochets and drawing. Just drawing a weapon effectively under pressure is very difficult. It's not. It sounds easy, but I mean, people just drop their guns and shoot themselves in the leg and shit.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know this probably isn't a fair comparison, but like just playing video games, like I'll be like, all right, you know, I got the hang of all the buttons and what I'm supposed to do. And then anytime there's a combat, I'm like, ugh, and accidentally like throw my sword across the room.
Throw your sword across the room.
Yeah, I panic even though it's a video game, and then I just do something stupid, or I just like squat or something. This is from playing Zelda.
Squat, throw your sword. Don't kill me. I'm unarmed.
It's true.
Oh god. Yeah.
So yeah, I could just imagine in real life I probably wouldn't be too good with a gun.
Yeah, I think you know, like the reason that the best military forces work so well, as one of our loyal listeners Frank pointed out to us, is lots of training. You know, and that's also what I've heard from them. Like Jocko Willink is a famous Navy SEAL and podcaster and author, and he was talking about how I think he said he was a SEAL for like 10 years or something before he ever went into combat, because they're so valuable that unless there's active wars and shit going on, they usually stay pretty contained. They stay training all the time because you don't just throw them into any conflict. But he said when he was finally in a firefight, it was just automatic. Like he didn't think about it. I think he said he was scared, but like didn't really process it. He just went by like motor memory, and it all worked. And I think, you know, civilians can do that too. It's just a hell of a lot harder to do that as a civilian, because the military is the military. They've got tax dollars to support everything. They know what they're doing. They've been doing it a long time. But just the average Joe doing that kind of shit, it's a whole different thing. What little martial arts training I've had, like when I started jiu-jitsu, I think probably the most valuable skill I got out of that was knowing how not to panic in a fight. Because like I had done a little martial arts before, but it wasn't realistic enough to make me like panic, you know? Panic's probably not the right word, but I will say that when you first start something like jiu-jitsu and you just have somebody who knows a lot more than you just like sitting on you and controlling you, and you can't do anything about it, there's a lot of hyperventilating and like just working yourself into a state of just total exhaustion without achieving anything. And learning how to control that, it was really important, and it just took doing it for a few weeks, you know, before I would calm down. And I imagine like doing that with gunfights is like harder, you know, and more expensive. And then even if you do that, the simulation is not the same thing, you know, because it's one thing to fake it a lot and be comfortable with that, but then getting in there and actually doing it, you know, performing under pressure. That's a whole other ball of wax. That's why cops fuck up so much. Like, so many times you see gunfights with cops where they shoot like 200 bullets and hit like 3 people once. One of them was the suspect. It's because they don't get a lot of practice at that kind of thing, you know?
Ugh. Did you see that video of like the cop shooting at a little like Chihuahua dog that came running at him?
No.
It was so fucked up. He had like a body cam, so it was from his point of view. And there...
Just pictured this in my head. Just
so
like,
stupid. It's exactly as you're picturing. So there's this woman that he was talking to, and I think she went in her house to like get her ID or something. Like she was like going in her house to get something and coming right back. And as she's walking in, you hear this like, rah, 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 rah. And he pulls out his gun and just begins shooting. And this dog comes out and he's like, arr! And then like turns around and you hear this woman go, "What the fuck are you doing?" Just screaming at him.
Yeah. Did he hit it?
No, I don't think so. I mean, the dog just kind of ran away, and I think it just ran away with like the sound of the bullets like scared him.
God, I mean,
it's like fucking dumbass.
Yeah, that's pretty hard to justify. I mean, it's
like the tiniest little yippy dog too.
Yeah, I mean,
so not
like,
threatening.
They do generally train cops to shoot dogs pretty quickly, depending on circumstances, of course. Not just like every dog you see, just kill it. Just walking down the street, bang! Dog on a leash or something. But if you're, it's, you know, like, definitely if you're doing a raid, they train them to just immediately kill the dogs, because dogs are really dangerous, and criminals train dogs too. You know, like they'll fuck you up, but or they'll just distract you long enough that the bad guy kills you. But then there's cases like that where you like that's hard to. I don't.
It made no sense because it wasn't even, it wasn't even like a hostile situation with a person. So
God,
he just hears his dog and like draws his gun.
Man, I mean, drawing your gun because you hear a dog is fair, but not shooting at it.
Oh no, like three shots.
Can you imagine shooting a cat? Like if they did this with cats. Although cats, I mean, they're pretty vicious too, and like a cat can do some stuff that a dog can't. You know, like I've had a cat jump on my face with all its claws and its teeth, like done right there on my face. Dog can't do that. You know.
What were you doing to this cat?
I was petting it. I was a kid. I was like 6. I was a kid, and I was at my aunt's house. She had this cat, and I was petting it. And next thing I knew, it was fucking attached to my face. I ran out in the living room, like screaming, with it still attached to my face. Yeah, I was like bleeding all over the place. But like a dog can't do that. Granted, a dog can bite your throat out, but you know, can't attach itself to your face. How do you shoot a cat off your face? That sounds like risky business. I mean, at a bare minimum, you're gonna have some gunpowder burns, and you're gonna be deaf.
Wow, kind of reminds me of when I was in Australia. There's these really cool looking. I think they're cool looking birds. They're probably like as big as like crows or ravens, but they're like black and white. And they're called magpies.
That sounds cool. Oh, I've heard of magpies.
Yeah. And, you know, Australia just has different wildlife. So, like, every animal I see, I'm like, ooh, cool. And so I saw a magpie. I was like, oh, pretty. And my friend was just like, no, it's not. And I'm like, what? It's not always like, fuck magpies.
Whoa.
Yeah. And
Sounds like a story here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So his brothers were like, oh, you know, his name's Dave. He's like, poor Dave, he got attacked by a magpie once. And he was running and crying, and I was like, "What?" He's like, "Oh, he's like 6 years old." So I was like, "Oh, okay." I'm watching imagining a full-grown man and be like, "So
get this bird away from me! It's so mean."
So apparently, magpies, when they have nests, they will just attack people that are just like walking within like a pretty far away vicinity from the nest. So you're just like walking on the sidewalk. If you're kind of close-ish to a tree that has a magpie nest, magpies will come and like swoop you and like attack your head and stuff. And apparently some Australians have this game where, and I love this.
Fucking Australians, man.
No. So you have to volunteer to so you have to stand near a magpie tree, or a tree where a magpie has a nest, facing away from it. And apparently you can kind of feel or sense when a magpie is like around, like, well, you can probably hear it. It's probably making noise. And you can kind of maybe feel it swooping. And the game is you have a group of people who are watching you, like facing the other direction, and you're not allowed to run until they say you should. So you just have to stand there like shaking, hearing this magpie, and feeling it swoop near you, but you can't, like, you want to run, but you can't until your friends tell you that you actually should run.
What if they just never tell you? I mean,
But they're assholes, aren't they?
This sounds like a terrible game.
It is. I kind of wanted to play it, though. I was like, this sounds like a real Australian experience. I want to do this.
Yeah. I mean, I'd try it wearing full body armor, head to toe, or like
That's
like
cheating.
a night suit, you know,
A night suit?
of armor. Yeah.
Oh, and I thought you meant like a nighttime suit.
No.
Like,
Yeah,
what does
pajamas.
that look like?
Just pajamas with little moons on them.
The night suit.
Yeah, and slippers.
Little bunny slippers.
Yeah, little stuffed teddy bear.
I'm ready
That's
for
my
the
night suit.
Magpie game.
That's how I sleep. God, that sounds like a shitty game.
Yeah, totally.
I don't think I would play that game. You know?
I kind of wanted to.
Yeah, but how do they? I mean, is everybody there just an expert on when you should run from magpies? I mean, it sounds risky, you know?
Yeah, I don't know if there's
Like-
an expertise on that. It's just more when it looks like.
It looks like you're in real danger,
Yeah.
right? Well, I don't like this game. It's stupid.
Well, you don't have to play.
Australians are funny.
Yeah.
I learned recently that Antarctica used to be called Australia.
Right.
Yeah, and then Australia was like, now we're Australia.
We're just going to take this.
Bunch of fucking criminals.
Wait, so was
looking
it
at
the
you.
criminals that did it or the Aborigines that took the name?
No, I don't think the Aborigines. They probably already had a different name for Australia, and they were like, "It's all the same to us," you know, because go away,
Right.
right? We have our own name, and you can't pronounce it, white man. No, it was at the time Australia was New Holland because it was a Dutch colony apparently, and then it wasn't, and they're like, "Oh, we're just going to be Australia." And at first, I was like, "Wait, that's like a dramatic failure of creativity." To just pick, like, just with this other continent there, that's us now.
It really does fit them because they're criminals and
Right.
they don't have culture.
Well, apparently they have a magpie game, so there's that.
That
But-
was a little dig.
So I dig out Australians a lot. I feel comfortable doing that. I don't know why. I think it's
Take the
because
piss out of them,
Yeah,
as
that's
you
what I
say.
do. I take the piss out of Australians. I think it's because like they do so much of that. I just feel comfortable
Yeah.
doing it from a distance.
Yeah, that's what I really like about Australia because that is kind of my comfort zone too. It's my instinct to like make fun of people and tease them in that way. So much so that like I get myself in trouble or like I don't know. I think I tarnish relationships sometimes because
Sure.
people take things the wrong way or maybe my jokes are just shitty.
You know,
But
sometimes you're kind of a bitch too. So
yeah, that's true.
yeah.
But yeah, in Australia, it's like I feel at home in that way.
Yeah, so here's the thing: as I was thinking about this, and I was like, this doesn't make it because I got this from like one sentence in Wikipedia that didn't explain it or anything, and I'm like, there's got to be something missing from the story about Australia stealing its name. So I did a little more research, and apparently the word Australia just means southern land from Latin. I can't remember what the Latin was, but anyway, this was like an ancient term just for like a hypothetical southern continent. Or sometimes people say it wasn't hypothetical, that there were like, you know, explorers who had seen southern continents and reported back that they existed. So it was kind of a term that was just around, just generically used for southern stuff. And I guess Australia, it's I think it's the second most southern, or third most after New Zealand and Antarctica. So they were just like, yeah, well, it means southern land, so we'll take it. And Antarctica didn't have any spokespeople. Nobody fucking lives there.
Right.
You know, there's like 2 researchers that live there.
No one's like, hey.
Yeah, they're just like, fine. Nobody's ever been there. So. But then it was apparently 80 years before Antarctica had a new name.
80 years.
80 years went by. That's how unimportant it was. It was just like, well, I mean, who's going to defend it, you know?
Right.
I'm not going to die on that hill.
But when people were talking about it, what would they say?
That place, the continent formerly known as Australia.
Kind of like Prince?
Right. Yeah. I don't know what they called it. Isn't it just weird, though, to try to imagine Antarctica as Australia? Like, it just sounds so wrong.
Yeah.
It's weird how language just gets embedded like that, and you just take it for granted.
Yeah, kind of like how we still call Native Americans Indians.
Yeah, that one's complicated, too, though. It's nuanced because there are Native Americans who refer to themselves as Indians and prefer that designation.
Why?
I don't know. I haven't looked into that. But that's kind of what makes it hard to, like, well, what... Like,
Are they trying to like take it back or something?
I don't know. Because I mean, it's not like it was ever well, Yeah, I don't think it was ever an insult, other than like once people knew they weren't Indians, and we're like, whatever.
Right.
We're just gonna keep calling them Indians. It's too lazy. It's just brown people.
Right.
That's an insult, but other than that, it's not in and of itself like
It's just wrong.
Yeah, it's just
It's
factually
not wrong with
inaccurate.
being Indian.
Yeah, yeah, that's a weird one. There's so many of those. God, I feel we always just end up on controversial shit. I was looking up Gypsy the other day because I've been watching Peaky Blinders a lot,
Right.
And you were asking what's a gypsy, and I was like, I don't really know. Because first of all, I still am not entirely clear if this is an offensive word. So if it is, and I'm offending anybody, sorry.
I think it is.
I guess it depends.
I
on
just learned that
context.
Eskimo is apparently offensive.
Yeah, that's a weird one. Because like I was looking up, what was I?
Because they have their own Aboriginal name that I can't think of right now, and apparently,
Well,
like if you want to be
Inuit has become
Inuit,
more trendy, but I think they both only refer to subsets of people. But I don't really know. But I do know that I was looking at a list of languages in Greenland, and one of the native languages was Eskimo, and like that's what it's called. So I don't know. I think maybe it's offensive if you just generalize and call every like
sure
native snow people Eskimos,
or call them snow people.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like at least that's accurate, But it'd be like calling everybody in South America Mexican,
right?
Or Central America.
Is there a term besides Mexican that's less offensive?
What was that?
It was The Office,
right? The Office. Anyway, what was I talking
Diversity
about?
Day.
Gypsies.
Yeah.
So I sorry if that's.
Well, the reason
rude,
I asked is like in Peaky Blinders, I always thought of gypsies as like nomadic kind of hippie people. And in Peaky Blinders, they're like these well-dressed mobster gang people that seem to be in one place, like a fairly nice house, but they're supposedly gypsies. So I was like, well, what is a gypsy?
Yeah, and my understanding at that moment was that a gypsy was a person of Romany descent who also was nomadic. And I also thought Romany had something to do with Romanian at that time.
Yeah.
As it turns out, there's two main definitions for gypsy. One is a nomad, or a nomadic people, and two is Romany people. But it turns out Romany has nothing to do with Romania. It was just people from a certain region of India that I think was called Roma.
It's so confusing.
Yeah, and I didn't read enough to figure out how these things came about, but the word itself comes from Egyptian. Because the yeah, I know. This was another case like Indian, where at the time I don't know what idiot.
But actually, they're all Brazilian.
Right. Well, no, they're all Indian. They were. Now it's anybody who's a nomad. But yeah, at the time I don't know what it's like. They just put really dumb people in charge of just naming groups of people. Like, who are these people? Indians.
Yeah.
Who are these Indians? Egyptians. They called the Indians Egyptians and the Native Americans Indians. Like,
yeah, and then all of a sudden these little rules sneak in, and if you say the wrong thing, it's incredibly offensive.
Right. Yeah. So gypsy comes from Egyptian, and I'm guessing that the Roma people maybe were there was a word for nomadic that was more itinerant, I think, meaning like passing through places. I'm guessing that was their lifestyle, and that's how the association grew between nomadism and Romany people. Yeah, and then just anybody who's nomadic, And in Peaky Blinders, I think what they kind of imply is that that family used to be nomadic, and sometimes they'll go and visit like other gypsies, I guess. God, I'm so self-conscious now. I don't know. I might have just said
Canceled.
a really bad word like 40 times. I want to keep going.
Well,
though.
to be
Anyway.
fair, in Peaky Blinders, they refer themselves as gypsies.
Yeah, and like sometimes people call them gypsies as an insult, but then they also, which doesn't mean it's fine. There's certain other racial slurs I can think of that are in that same boat that I wouldn't be using right now. Then again, it's not racial technically, although originally it was, but it referred to the wrong race. Anyway, when they go visit their other gypsy friends, that's me being
What was that
bold.
look?
I was being bold.
Oh, doesn't give
I
a
don't
fuck.
care. I don't give a fuck.
Don't
No, I
even-
do though if I'm offended.
Don't even give a care.
But they do often visit them in like caravans and shit, and tents, and so a lot of them are nomadic. And I'm guessing that family, the Shelby family, which I'm pretty sure is a fictional family, started that way and then got houses. I guess I don't know.
Moved on up.
Yeah, it's a cool show.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Took me a few tries to get into it. I watched it when it debuted, saw the first episode, and like I really liked it. I thought it was really well made, but for some reason I just didn't care. I think it's like I was listening to Stuff You Should Know, and I think Josh Clark was talking about how there's shows that he likes, but he just can't set aside like the headspace to start a new show.
Right.
I think they were talking about Narcos or something, where he's like, yeah, I'm sure it's great, but I can't, I'm not ready, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like that's how I was with Peaky Blinders for like 4 years. I was just like, I get it, and I'm going to like this one day, but I just don't have the, because you know me, I kind of watch the same shit over and over.
Yeah, and lately it's been Peaky Blinders.
Yeah. Yeah, I've watched it all the way through, I think 3 times in the last month.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah, it is kind of ridiculous. I like it though too because I am attracted to the main character
Yeah.
sexually.
It'd be funny if you said platonically. I like his
I
mind.
want to be his friend.
But nothing more. Yeah, Killian Murphy. He's a good actor. I thought his name was Cillian because it's spelled with a C, but it's Killian.
That's a cool name.
Yeah, Killian. It'd be cooler if it was spelled with a K. No offense, but yeah, he's a good actor because like when you see him in that role, he just is that character, and I think the haircut has a lot to do with it because it's unique. But like when I'm picturing him from other roles I've seen him in, it's still, even in my head, it's not the same person, you know, because he just looks so different. I think it could be because he often has kind of big hair, not like big, but you know, full. And then in the Peaky Blinders, he's got that buzz undercut and like the little comb over.
Yeah.
But we saw him in that other movie, Anna.
What? I never saw that.
Anna. Well, you didn't see the whole movie, but you saw him in that scene, and you're like, that guy's rude or something. I can't remember. Anyway, that was a pretty cool movie. Luc Besson, I think. Anyway.
Yeah, he has like this. He has like, he kind of like physically, he's kind of an odd looking guy, I'd say, because he has like this, like he's had this like pretty boy face that I think was like very attractive when he was younger, but kind of ages a little odd.
That's mean.
Yeah, well, sorry if you're listening, Killian. I'm still attracted to you sexually.
That's what matters. That's the important
But my
part.
point is, like, it wasn't like an immediate attraction, but like the more I watch the show, I just find his character pretty hot.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way, and I think they make the character pretty attractive, you know?
Yeah.
And he kind of grows on
Like
you.
a bad boy.
Yeah, but like not like Arthur. You
Right.
know? Arthur's a bad boy too, but he's just fucking wild. And
Yeah, he's kind of reckless. Yeah, Arthur's just reckless.
Yeah.
Loose cannon.
Yeah.
And Tommy's more like thoughtful and strategic.
He's got a very bony face.
Yeah, you say that. No, I don't think it's a. Or no, you said that he's really skinny.
Yeah, I think it's just he's got a skinny face.
He's got cheekbones.
Yeah, well, cheek and jaw. Like I think, yeah, it could be. You could be right that his primary skull components are so pronounced that it just kind of stretches his face a little. It makes it look maybe thinner than it is. I mean, he's certainly fit, but he's not as skinny as I would have assumed. Like once they show him just like shirtless, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, he's got some meat on him.
Yeah,
but his
I mean,
face
he's
is
lean,
just,
but it doesn't strike me as like skinny, like really skinny.
Yeah, I feel like if you just look at his face, he looks really skinny.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think he just has cheekbones, and they just kind of goes in his cheeks.
Everybody has cheekbones,
but he has like a large.
Well, not everybody.
Well, you know what I
Most
mean.
people.
When I say cheekbones, I'm talking about like
Yeah.
you know when supermodels have cheekbones, like it's kind of it goes in, but then he has like a full jawline as well, and so I don't know. When I think of people with like skinny faces, I think of like the actor that plays Sherlock.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Is that his name?
Yeah. Sorry, Benedict, if you're listening too. Also, if you're
Okay.
Gypsy, I'm double sorry.
So yeah, he has like a narrow, skinny face. It's just like it's just
Yeah.
an upside down arrow.
Well, he has an especially narrow face.
Yeah.
But I mean, when I say skinny, I don't mean like skinny left to right, like narrow. I mean like not a lot of fat on it, you know?
Yeah, well, whatever.
Man. Never mind. I was going to start talking about Sherlock. And
You can talk about Sherlock.
no, it's a cool show. Took me a while to get into it. That was another one of those shows where I was like, I get it.
Which one are we talking
I'm
about?
going to give it 5 years. Sherlock.
Wait. There's two Sherlock shows. Are we talking about the same one?
Well, there's one called Sherlock, and there's one called Elementary.
Oh, yeah. So I was talking about the elementary guy.
Oh. No, you're talking about Sherlock guy. The British.
Yeah, the character that plays
Version.
Sherlock in Elementary has a scary face.
Oh, well, that's Johnny Lee Miller,
Okay, that's what I
the
was
guy
talking
from
about.
Trainspotting.
Okay.
Are you sure? You know the other one, though, right?
Yeah.
He has a really skinny face. He has like
You think so?
yeah, really super narrow, pointy, angular face. That's what he's known for.
That doesn't strike me.
I think you're mixing up these shows.
I don't think so.
Are you
He's
talking
the
about
guy
the one with Lucy Liu?
Yeah, isn't that what I said?
That's Elementary, yeah.
Yeah.
Weird.
So, yeah, the guy in the other one, the one with the really nice cinematography that's called Sherlock, he kind of looks like a adult baby.
God. Well, okay. Sorry, Johnny Lee Miller. Sorry, Benedict Cumberbatch. Sorry, Killian Murphy.
Sorry, Gypsies.
Sorry, Gypsies.
Sorry, Indians.
Eskimos. Sorry, Inuits, probably.
Yeah.
Australians, certainly. If there's anybody in Antarctica, sorry. I don't think I said anything bad about you, but I'm sorry. Just
apologizing for me.
preemptively. New Zealanders? Nah, fuck New Zealand.
Kiwis? Yeah,
Just
fuck
kidding.
'em.
Just kidding. By the way, I found a website called fuck.kiwi. And it appears to be an Australian tourism website.
Is it all just like Julian Shaw giving you coy faces?
Yeah, and it's got his phone number.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a wild time, call Julian Shaw 555.
Yeah, Julian Shaw, which I think most people know who that is. He's the guy who wrote and directed the movie I'm In, Use Me, and was also one of the stars of it. He's a Kiwi. A lot of people think he's Australian, but he was actually born in New Zealand. And
Didn't he live in Australia for like 20 years?
Yeah, he spent most of his life in Australia. So, but technically a Kiwi. There was an article that came out about him recently, and I think it was on a gay website or something, and it said like cutie Julian Shaw shows off his perky butt in the new movie Use Me.
It's a hell of a review.
And it was so funny because the main picture was like this Christmas picture of him like wearing a Christmas sweater in front of a tree. Like it looks so wholesome, and he's all like smiling like a golden retriever. And I thought it was hilarious because you could tell he was kind of like he has a sense of humor about it, but he was also just like a little insulted by it because it was so objectifying. And I'm like, hey, welcome to my world, man.
Oh man, that is hilarious. He was on our podcast. That was an interesting episode.
Yeah, I think that was our most listened to podcast.
Oh really?
Yeah.
You know who we should get on here?
Who?
Killian Murphy. What's up, Killian? You should be on our show.
Tommy Shelby?
Yeah. We should ask him uncomfortable questions about bone structure and stuff. Because we're apparently really
sounds kind of racist.
Is this?
Well, like, you know, the
He's
bone.
white. It's fine.
Well,
phrenology?
yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, you know what's crazy? I was reading this book about it was about like strategic communication or something or influence. It was kind of like a how to win friends and influence people kind of thing. But it had this whole chapter about how to tell what somebody's personality is like based on their facial features. And I was just like, what the fuck? Like, where did that come from? Because the rest of the book, for the most part, it seemed pretty logical and there's nothing in there that seemed like a stretch, but then it was like basically talking about phrenology. It's like if they have a strong chin, then that means they're, you know, strong-headed, and then they're probably a bully or something. And
a weak chin, they should be executed
right,
immediately.
just kill them. They're weak, and their bloodline won't last. And yeah, it was just weird. And then I was reading Sherlock Holmes stories, and in those original stories from like the 1890s and shit, apparently, I'm guessing at that time people just kind of believed that kind of thing. Because one of the things Sherlock would do in the original stories is he would figure out somebody's personality based on their facial features, and like he's this genius at observation, but that's just bullshit. You know, like that's a little nutty. And it was kind of disappointing, you know, to read that because it's like that's not a smart character.
Yeah, that sucks.
That's an idiot.
What a dummy.
And I had been impressed because one thing in particular when I started learning about Holmes impressed me, which was that the original character studied several martial arts, but I think two of the primaries were boxing and barjitsu or something like that, which was like a fictional version of what at the time was sort of a variant of jiu-jitsu. And that impressed me so much because I had done a lot of research and decided that if you wanted to be really good at street fighting as quickly as possible, you should start with boxing and jiu-jitsu. And apparently Conan Doyle had the same idea 100 years before I had it and wrote it into the Holmes character. And that was impressive because back then there wasn't a lot to work with. Like I have the benefit of modern MMA to study to know like what's the most effective shit you can learn pretty quickly. I don't know how they figured that out, but that was impressive. And then also he breeds chins.
He reads chins.
Asshole.
All right, I got an appointment, so we got to wrap this up.
Oh, aren't you important?
I am important.
Do you want me to just schedule something for later? Should I talk to your secretary? I'm just kidding.
Just got to get my nails done, man. Come on.
That's not important at all. All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening. We didn't get around to any listener questions again.
We'll do it next
talked
time.
about ninjas and awkward, offensive language.
Mm.
But send us listener questions. All right, at standardpodcast.com.
Peace.
Bye.